31st, 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are set to renew or extend the contract of Dani Olmo. Also, Barcelona could consider a move for Marc Cucurella, but only if a certain condition is met. And finally, Darwin Nunez being linked to Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Boo, and welcome to another day of Barca news today. Beautiful Sunday here in New York. It was amazing weather. Sucks that tomorrow is Monday, which means we're all back to work. But hey, got to enjoy the weekend. That's all that matters. And now I'm ready to bring you the most up-to-date Barcelona news because there's a lot of it ever since this summer began. Well, we cannot stop talking about Barca news because there's so much to cover. But let's start with Dani Olmo because Barcelona are set to improve his contract with a higher salary. And if you're wondering, Mo, what are you talking about? Dani Olmo had an incredibly inconsistent season. Well, it has to do with the agreement that Dani Olmo reached with Barcelona back in 2024 when Barcelona signed him. See, when Barcelona signed Dani Olmo, he had more lucrative offers from other clubs. However, he said no to those clubs in order to come to Barcelona, and he accepted a lower salary than what he would have made at other clubs because, of course, his dream was to return to Barcelona. So in order to reward that, Barcelona said, okay, the next 2 seasons, you're going to make less, but by your third season, not only are you going to make more, equivalent to what you're supposed to be making, but we're also going to compensate you the difference for the first 2 seasons. So this summer, Barcelona will be signing a new contract with Dani Olmo, increasing his salary from now on, and paying him what the club owes him for the first 2 seasons, since he did agree to a lower salary in order to help Barcelona's financial fair play. And I have to say something. I think I overestimated this board of directors because over the past, how long has it been? 4 or 5 years of Joan Laporta and his board being in charge of the club, I used to say, wow, we finally have a president and a board that understands the power that the Barcelona brand has over players. And what do I mean by that? Because back when Bartomeu was the president, whenever he would like to sign a player, if he saw that other clubs were offering 70 million for that player, he would go and offer 90. And if he finds out that they were offering the player 10 million in salary, he would offer 15. He was always throwing more and more money because he was trying to beat all these clubs. And I always said Bartomeu didn't understand something very simple, that the Barcelona brand is an incredibly strong brand. There's so many players that grew up dreaming of playing in Barcelona, and you don't need to throw at them in large amounts of money for them to come to the club. They're already interested in coming to the club. So as long as you offer them a decent salary, they'll come. Hell, we've seen so many players accept much lower salaries to come to Barca than what they could have made going somewhere else, right? And I always complained that Bartomeu never understood that. But when Laporta became president, I was like, finally, we have a president that understands what the Barcelona brand means. But apparently in the Dani Olmo case, that's not it. That's not the case, because here we have Dani Olmo, who's been dying to come to Barcelona ever since he left. He gets the chance to come back to Barcelona. And what do Barcelona say? Oh, okay, yeah, great, come. We can't pay you much, but don't worry, because in 2 seasons, we are going to pay you a lot more, and we're going to pay you back for the first 2 seasons that you didn't make as much. What? You didn't need to do that. You could have just told Olmo, look, this is what we can offer you because this is the current financial situation we're in. And Olmo would have said absolutely yes. He's been dying to come back ever since he left. And plus, it's not like he's making peanuts. He's still making millions. He's still a millionaire, and he gets to fulfill his dream of coming back to Barcelona. So apparently, I overestimated this board. I thought they understood what playing at Barcelona meant. Apparently not. Or maybe it was Mateo Alemany who understood it and Deco doesn't. But I think this was an absolutely stupid thing to do, because by agreeing to that, hey, we're going to pay you a higher salary your third year and we're going to pay you back for the first 2, well, you risk this situation that we're currently in, where Dani Olmo has had an incredibly inconsistent season. And what are we doing? We're rewarding that inconsistency by giving him a higher salary and paying him back for the first 2 seasons, which he mostly spent injured. Insane. Insane. But that's the kind of sporting director we currently have. That's the kind of board that we currently have. But anyways, on to the next bit of news, because speaking of returning to Barcelona, we have to talk about, of course, Marc Cucurella, another Barcelona Academy graduate who left the club. And well, recently he's been hinting a lot that he wants to come back. He wants to leave Chelsea. He wants to go back to Spain, which is his home country, of course. And Chelsea are actually open to transfer him. So ever since that news broke, Cucurella has been consistently linked with Barcelona, especially after his last interview where he said that he would love to come back to Barcelona. Of course, I talked about that interview in a previous video on the channel, which is somewhere on the channel. I'm sure you can find it. But anyways, Cucurella has been consistently linked with Barcelona since he wants to return to Spain. And well, now Barcelona are considering a move for Cucurella, but only if one condition is met. What's that condition? That's if Jules Koundé leaves. As you know, there's been some talks and rumors about Koundé possibly leaving. Of course, Koundé has had a horrific season. His performance has taken a big dip. Even Flick has mentioned that in press conferences, has hinted at it in press conferences. We saw even Koundé miss the final few trainings and the last match of the season. He even left after 10 to 15 minutes from that dinner that the club organized for the players. After the dinner began, he left 10, 15 minutes after the dinner began. So there's been some talks about maybe Koundé, that he's trying to distance himself from the locker room because he could be leaving. I think that's all just, for me, I think it's all just speculation. I don't see Koundé wanting to leave. But if Koundé ends up leaving, then Barcelona would move for Cucurella. Why? Because if Koundé leaves, of course, that would open a spot in the defense, which could be occupied by Marc Cucurella. And of course, if Koundé leaves, that would mean a significant income for Barcelona, because Koundé could be sold for maybe 60 to 80 million euros. So Barcelona then can use part of that money to sign Marc Cucurella, and the club estimate that he could cost close to 40 million euros. Now, you might say, Mo, what are you talking about? If Koundé leaves, he's a right back, Cucurella is a left back. How would that work? Well, the way it works, of course, Barcelona are working on keeping Joao Cancelo. So if Koundé leaves, Barcelona would move Cancelo to the right, which is his natural position. And then, of course, Cucurella would compete with Balde for the left back position, with Cancelo competing with Xavi Espart, Hector Ford, if he, goes through if he does well during the preseason. We'll see, but plenty of options there. But again, this would only happen if Koundé leaves. Now, Barcelona are not looking to actively place Koundé on the market. If a good offer comes for him, they would consider it, and obviously the player would want to leave. So if he does, then Barcelona would move for Cucurella. But if Koundé leaves, there's no movement for Cucurella, because right now, of course, that is not the priority. The priority is finding a center forward. Now, on to the next big news, because we do have to talk about another guy whose uniform is blue, and that is Darwin Nunez, because he is being linked to Barcelona as a possible target for the club. Now, where is this coming from? Now, as you know, Barcelona are currently in talks with Al Hilal for the signing of Joao Cancelo, who we just mentioned a few moments ago. And during these conversations, the name Darwin Nunez came up. Now, it's not clear on whether Darwin Nunez was offered to Barcelona or whether it was Barcelona that asked about Darwin Nunez. We don't know that. We just know that his name came up during one of the meetings where Joao Cancelo was being discussed. Now, of course, this is a big difference, right? There's a difference between a player being offered to your club, right? Anybody could offer themselves. I could offer myself to Barcelona. Obviously, Barcelona would not sign me, and I hope they won't. I suck. Plus, I'm old. There's a difference between a player being offered as opposed to the club actually asking about the situation of the player. Again, we don't know which one happened, but we do know that the name came up. Now, what's going on with Darwin Nunez? If you don't know what's going on, Al Hilal signed Darwin Nunez for 53 million euros this past summer. He only played half a season. In the winter, in February, Al Hilal signed Karim Benzema. And a crisis was triggered because Saudi League only allows each club to have 10 foreign players. And they already had 10 foreign players. So when Karim Benzema came, all of a sudden they were like, crap, what are we going to do? So what did Al Hilal do? They pulled the registration of Darwin Nunez to give it to Benzema. So Darwin Nunez spent the second half without being able to play in a Saudi league, which, by the way, to me, that's insane. I mean, talk about the epitome of unprofessionalism for Al Hilal. Like, how do you spend 53 million on a player only to pull his registration halfway through the season? I mean, that just tells you the shit show that the Saudi league is. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So since Darwin Nunez registration was pulled, he's now negotiating a contract rescission, meaning canceling the contract with Al Hilal so he can leave as a free agent come this summer. And now this is why he has been linked to Barcelona, because his name did come up during a talk between Barca and Al Hilal over Joao Cancelo. Again, we don't know whether Barca asked about him or whether it was the player that was offered to Barcelona. I hope it's the former, that he was offered to Barcelona and not the other way around, because I'm sorry about Darwin Nunez. There's no way. There's no way. That cannot be our starting number 9. I mean, look, Darwin Nunez at Benfica was absolutely amazing. He went to Liverpool, and that was it for him. It's been a downhill trajectory for the Uruguayan center forward. And, that tells you a lot, because when he went to a bigger club, which is Liverpool, and when he went to a more competitive league, which is the Premier League, all of a sudden he started underperforming, which tells you maybe Benfica was where he should be at. Plus, not to mention, he hasn't even been doing great in Saudi, and it's freaking Saudi. I mean, even Joao Felix, who has failed at every club he has stepped foot in, became the best player of the season in Saudi Arabia. So that tells you a lot. So I really hope it was the other way around, that the player was offered to Barcelona and not that Barcelona asked about him. Now, if Barcelona did ask about him, I really hope this is a negotiation tactic to kind of put pressure on Atletico Madrid, for example, or on Chelsea for Joao Pedro, because, in the case of Julian Alvarez, the way this could work as a measure of pressure is, hey, Julian tells Atletico Madrid, I don't want to renew. I have doubts about your project. In fact, I want to leave and go to Barca. Barca comes, hey, you have a problem on your hand. You have a player that doesn't want to be at your club because he doesn't believe in your project. Why would he? It's a piece of shit. So let me take that problem off your hand, and in the process, I'll offer you a lot of money. Now, Atletico Madrid have been acting like clowns on social media, acting like the small club that they are. So Barcelona could, the way this could be a negotiation tactic, Barcelona could be like, all right, well, you have a problem on your hand. I was willing to take it off your hand. You don't want to. That's fine. We got plenty of money. We can go spend it somewhere else. So hopefully it's one of those two scenarios where either it was Darwin Nunez being offered to Barca and not the other way around. But if it is the other way around when Barcelona asked about him, hopefully it's just a negotiation tactic, because, again, Darwin Nunez cannot be our starting number 9. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You guys let me know down below in the comment section. And the last bit of news is we got to talk about, of course, Marc Casado, because, ladies and gentlemen, he has received interest from Monaco. Now, as you know by now, Monaco have been willing to trigger the option to buy for Ansu Fati, which is worth 11 million euros. They were waiting on the player to reach an agreement with them, but it seemed that Ansu Fati was waiting to see if Barcelona would maybe call him back and he can compete for that left-wing position with Rafinha. But with Barcelona now signing Anthony Gordon, he noticed, okay, there's no way. So now Ansu Fati has decided to, yes, he's going to move forward with the permanent move to Monaco. But during those talks where Jorge Mendes was negotiating between Barcelona and Monaco for the move of Ansu Fati, well, he offered the name of Marc Casado, and it seems that Monaco are interested in signing the Barcelona midfielder. Now, Marc Casado does have interest from other clubs, some in Saudi, some in the Premier League. Of course, we're going to have to wait and see what Marc Casado will want to do. It's going to be a very difficult situation for him, because on one hand, he's always said it a million times. He wants to stay at Barca. It's his home. He came up through the academy. He loves the club. He wants to stay at Barca. He's even said he wants to retire at Barca. But on the other hand, his minutes have been dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. So we'll see what Casado will do. Is he going to stay at Barca and, fulfill his dream of always being at the club, but risking never playing? Or is he going to go searching for minutes somewhere else, which, of course, would mean saying goodbye to his home? We'll have to wait and see. And, of course, I want to hear what you guys have to say down below. Let me know. Would you like to see Casado go somewhere else? Would you like to see him staying at Barcelona? Now, I did see there was a donation from Mustafa, and even though today is just a quick live to bring you news, it's not really a podcast like the one scheduled for tomorrow, but nonetheless, I do have to, of course, read the donation. So thank you so much, Mustafa, for your donation. Incredibly generous of you. But Mustafa says, Barca like to waste money, period. Yeah, you're not kidding, man. But again, we'll see what happens. But Yeah, I would agree a little bit with that because even though I'm very happy with the Anthony Gordon signing, I think 80 plus 10 it's expensive. Not to mention, Barcelona trying to prepare an offer 135 for Julian. I think that's absolutely nuts. But anyways, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Maybe not being able to spend huge amounts of money these last 5 years was a blessing for Barcelona because it looks like whenever we do have money, the clubs just want to throw it out the window and making it rain. But anyways. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, tomorrow is Monday, so tomorrow is podcast days. Of course, tomorrow I will be reading the comment section and reacting to all of your comments live. So I hope to see as many of you there as possible. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.